Alright, so hey guys, welcome to another video, and today I just sort of want to talk about Fortuna and Orb now that I finally had some more time to properly play it, because I was just drowning in videos over the past 2-3-ish weeks, because at first I was doing the preview, so I was on a test server, and then once the update was out, I started pumping out videos like crazy because I wanted to cover everything, and I managed to break my sleep pattern to a point where I currently can't sleep for more than like 3 or 4 hours, even if I try to force it with melatonin, because I've just been sleeping so irregularly, it completely broke my sleep pattern. But that was very much my own fault, because when Fortuna first came out, I would only sleep when I was rendering videos, and I wouldn't sleep outside of that, and I did that for a couple of days, which was apparently enough to completely break my sleep pattern. But that's enough about that. Let's talk Fortuna. So overall, my view on Fortuna is very positive. It's definitely a big step up from the planes, though there was one thing that planes did have that Fortuna at the moment doesn't have. It will get it in the future, and that's a big boss fight that would sort of tie it all together, because with the planes we had the Eidolons, or at least the terrorists to start with, but they're still working on the big spider fights at the moment, so that's something that Fortuna doesn't have, you know, this big boss fight that, as I've said already, would sort of tie it all together. And I think the reason Fortuna gets away with that is that it's overall more fun than the planes, because K-driving is awesome. I love it. I haven't been using my Arcwing at all. I just K-drive everywhere, even if it's really far, and it would have been far more efficient to get there via an Arcwing. Hunting animals and trying to get all the fluffs is a really nice side activity if you just, want to have fun and you want to relax for a little bit, and I'm very happy to hear that they're actually expanding on it by bringing in new animals and new fluffs with those animals. I also really like that it gives you standing with the Solaris United, so if you just feel like hunting animals and getting fluffs, you can still cap your standing while you're doing it. That I think is really good. And speaking about standing, I'm still sort of unsure whether I like the dead bond system or not. But I think I'm leaning more towards not liking it, because while the addition of Ticker made it far easier for me and people like me, that have accumulated a ton of resources over the years that we've been playing this game to sort of progress through the ranks, when you actually have to get the dead bonds via the bounties, whether it is because you don't have the resources to buy them from Ticker or Ticker isn't selling them, it's kind of a pain in the ass. To a point where I would actually say that if you need some dead bonds and Ticker is selling them but you don't have the resources, I would actually just go out onto the star chart and farm the resources rather than farm the bounty. Because getting the dead bonds from the bounties can be oddly difficult and time consuming. I actually ran into a bit of a hiccup at the very end. I didn't have any issues with dead bonds until I made it to the very end, and I was missing 2 familial dead bonds to get to the final rank, and I ended up having to do the final bounty for like 2 or 3 hours over and over and over again, because I kept getting endo and relics. But I really don't know if I can say that it's just bad, because I don't know if I just got unlucky or the dead bonds are oddly rare even though they're a common reward, or if it just didn't feel good because I was able to buy all the other dead bonds and Ticker just decided he doesn't want to sell any familiar bonds when I was ready to finally progress. So please, if you have anything to say about the dead bond system, feel free to let me know in the comments. Moving on to MOAs, which is like the one thing they completely ballsed up at the start, because for whatever reason, each MOA part would take 500,000 credits to build. So if you wanted to build a MOA on like day 1 or 2, it would take you over 2 million credits to do so, and that's just ridiculous. Especially when considering that if you want to get all the different precepts for MOAs, which are like the ability mods, you have to build multiple MOAs, each of a different model, to get them. They did lower the credit cost of the MOA parts fairly quickly though, because people were just like, what the f- I'm not paying 2 million credits for a MOA, no, just go away, no. But aside from that, I think the MOAs are extremely cool. They sit somewhere between a sentinel and an animal companion, leaning more towards the animal companion side of things. They're very unique, they look really cool. I love the different personality modules that you can give to them, and I really like some of the precepts, like for example the hacking MOA is super cool. Next on the menu we have kit guns, which I think turned out really well, though there isn't that much to choose from at the moment because we only have 4 chambers, so you can only really get 4 different variations of the kit guns, and you can kind of tweak the stats a little bit with the other parts. And I really hope they expand on it like they did with Zos, giving us new parts and even plague parts, having some variation of sort of a plague-ish type chamber would be really cool, I think. Also, I think it's really nice that the parts for the kit guns aren't all that expensive, both in terms of standing and the resources required to craft them. Next up we have fishing, which has been streamlined a lot, and that is a good thing, because I still remember doing the fishing guide for the planes, and it was just ridiculous. It was like, okay, so if you want to catch this fish, you're gonna need this bait, which requires this fish, which requires this bait, which requires this fish, which can be only caught at night over there, and this fish, which requires a bait to be thrown in there during the day, and then you need this bait for that fish, and you can only catch this fish over here. In Fortuna, it's basically just like, okay, if it's warm, you get this fish over here, you get this fish over here, and this fish over here, and if it's cold, you get that fish over there, that fish over there, and that fish over there. Boom, done. Now granted, it is not as simple as that, it's a little bit more complicated because you also have hotspots and caves, but you get the idea. And as far as mining is concerned, it's much easier than in the plains because you have far more mining nodes, especially if you go into caves, and you can also get like bonus gems by mining any node if you hit the sweet spot on them. It's actually a really good way, perhaps even the best way to get standing because of how many gems you can get, especially if you're running a booster. Also, now that I've mentioned caves, the caves in Orb Valleys are amazing. They're these massive sprawling things, and there's a ton of them, right? There's like 30 caves, and there's a lot of mining nodes and, you know, a lot of fishing ponds and stuff. But I'm a little bit disappointed in the contents of the caves because they were talking them up to be this amazing thing on dev streams, but not much really happens in them. Every now and then you get a cage drive race through one of them, and sometimes you get a bounty. That's about it. And I guess you can also go hunting for toroids in them, because every now and then you will get a toroid spawn in some of the sort of hidden-ish areas of the caves. Oh yeah, and speaking about toroid farming, a lot of people seem to really dislike it, but I don't have an issue with it because I don't think it was ever intended to be done this way. I think they originally intended for us to farm the toroids from the big spiders, but the spiders weren't finished, so I think they were just like, okay, let's just put in a little quack, let's give her the cosmetics, and let's make the toroids drop from random dudes so they can get the cosmetics in advance, and eventually I think we will get them from the spiders and we will be able to get, I don't know, probably operator melees or something like that. And I think I've been rambling for long enough, so in conclusion, I think the Fortuna update is really good. It's definitely much better than the plains, but it's definitely not perfect, especially since we're still missing a lot of the more interesting features that, you know, we're gonna get eventually. But they have to keep updating it, right, to keep it alive, because if they just abandon it once they bring in all the features that we're currently missing, you're just gonna get everything and all you will have left to do is to just K-drive around for fun, which I don't think is going to keep you in there for too long. And that's pretty much it. Those are my thoughts on Fortuna. I thank you very much for watching as always, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.